Hello and welcome back to Retfurb. On today's video we've got this set of 2000 Rockshox SID XC forks. So what we're going to do with these, we're going to give them a quick strip down. I'm just going to give a minor service. That includes changing the oil, changing the wiper seals, and then putting it all back together. Obviously we'll check the other seals whilst it's out, but at the moment the forks seem to hold good pressure, so there should be no issue there. Also we're going to do a quick refurb of the outer lower legs, just using aerosol paints to see what kind of finish we can get with that, and see if you can get a good finish just using the aerosol can paints that are readily available at any sort of DIY store. So first thing I'm going to do, as you can see here, I'm just removing the decals because I'm going to try and recreate these and replicate them as best as possible. So now we can look at stripping the fork down so we can get the lower legs off. So there's some small dust caps on top of the air caps. So you take these out and then you can release the air pressure by pressing in the little valve on top of the fork and then using a spanner to undo the top caps. So as you can see, these forks are not in that bad condition from the start. They just need a quick tidying up, just a quick minor service like we're doing on this. So now that the top cap's removed, you can see there's an Allen key bolt at the bottom either side. One of them has a small adjusting sort of cap on it. This just needs to be pulled out and then you can undo the lower Allen key bolt. Now with this, you don't actually want to take the bolts all the way out. I took them out and then I had to put them back in slightly because you're going to need to use a rubber mallet, as you can see now, to hit them down. So you just carefully want to hit onto these bolts. Obviously you don't want them on the last bit of thread, you want to extrude in a little bit, otherwise you might cause damage. They shouldn't take too much force to do it, but obviously depending on how long they've been on there, it will just might take a little bit more than you'd think. So once you do that, it's wiser just to turn it up just to see if you get a little bit of oil out before you move it any further. I made a right mess doing this. The video makes it look like I did it quite tidy, but to be fair, it was everywhere. I edited quite a bit of it out. So once you've drained a little bit off, you can then pull the lower legs off of the main sort of stanchions and they just slide out. You might need to use a rubber mallet just to tap it out a little bit, but it shouldn't be too much of an effort. So now I'm on to just cleaning up the legs, just cleaning off the adhesive left by the decals. I'm just using a solvent-based degreaser like I usually use on a lot of my videos, which is just the sort of thing you get in a panel shop. And on to removing the wiper seals. These just need to be levered out carefully, especially if they're in good condition and you want to use them again. You need to be very careful you don't damage them. Obviously it doesn't matter too much with these because I'm replacing them. And then we're on to prepping the lower legs. So I've got sandpaper on the DA. First thing I'm going to do is go with coarser sandpaper. I think at the moment I've got 120 grit on there, just getting rid of some of the deeper marks. Obviously when you do go over with something more coarse like this, you do need to go down with the finer grades. So as I said before, I started with 120, just going over some of the worst bits, and then I went down to 320, sort of feathering that out, and then I finished with 500. Now on some of the smaller intricate areas, I've got my small Dremel tool. Obviously with this, the head tends to be a bit more coarser, so you do need to be a little bit careful because you might eat into the metal of it. So I've actually got, I think it's 120 on this again, so it's not too bad, but it will eat into the metal a lot quicker than what the DA will. So you need to be very careful, very light with this. You don't want to go too mad with it. I just use it on some of the bits you can't get to very well, and then I go over it by hand with a bit of sandpaper. Now at this point, I've done all the sanding down, so it's all smoothed out. So now I'm going to go around with some red Scotch-Brite with a bit of solvent-based degreaser and just prep the rest of the areas and make sure they're keyed up, ready for paintwork. You just want to take your time with this part and just make sure that it's keyed up correctly, and then we can move on to degreasing the panel and making sure that there's no dust or dirt left on there after the prepping process. Now I'm just going to apply some primer to the lower legs. So first I'm going to put a dust coat on there just to give a good grip to the surface for the other coats of primer. and then using a heat gun just to accelerate the drying process. And then now I'm going to put on 2 full coats of primer, possibly 3, but I mean you can put on as many as you want really, but you've got to make sure they cure between coats, so just using the air dryer just to make sure that it goes quicker. And now I'm just going to do the same sort of thing with the black aerosol. This is just a gloss black aerosol. It doesn't actually give a high gloss finish, despite what the tin actually says on it. But it doesn't give a bad finish. I'm not sure if these forks were high gloss from factory anyway. I think they had a bit more of a sheen to them rather than real high gloss. So I'm just going over 1 light coat just as a gripper coat, and then 2 full coats. And then as you can see, this is the finished product after applying those 2 full coats. Not too bad considering that it was just done with aerosol cans. Now these are decals that I designed and made up, so they're not bad, they're pretty close. I couldn't get them exactly the same. I struggled with the rear lower decal, although I did redo it again and made it slightly lighter. So now we can look at getting them fitted. These are just simply self-adhesive. The only thing I should have done, which I didn't do, is I didn't put any transfer tape on them, so I just peeled them off and put them on as they were, and I actually messed up one of them, so I peeled that back off and did it again. But when it's all done, you'll see that they come together and they look really good actually. And also I've got the new wiper seals and foams to go in there, although the foams are actually too thick, so I do cut these down slightly thinner. So when you do these wiper seals, they can be quite tight, and you will need something to knock them in. So what I used is a big socket and a rubber hammer, as you can see here, and just knocked them in gently. Obviously you need to be careful that you're getting them in straight and not going in at an angle, but you can see that they've gone in and they're absolutely fine. So yeah, the decals, as you can see, look great. They do exactly what I need them to do, tidy it up. You can see here the foam seal that goes inside here. I've had to just trim it down slightly. So ordinarily you'd probably put the foam in first before you put the wiper in, but I decided to do it this way. There's a gap, you can get it in easy enough, so it's not a big deal. The ones that actually came out of it were really tiny, really thin and small. So I just cut these down a little bit to make them fit correctly. And now I'm just going to lubricate the stanchions and slide them into the lower legs. So when you do this and you get it ready to put the oil in, you don't want to slide them all the way in. Now I made the mistake the first time when I did it, I slid them too far, and then when I went to put the oil in, I couldn't get enough in there. So don't do that, but I'll come back to that in a minute. So this part, you just oil the top rubber, you can slide it in. There's sort of like an Allen key head on it, which if you can't push it in far enough, you can just get an Allen key on that and just twist it in so it slides in better. Now coming to put the oil in, so it's 10 cc's of oil in the left leg. On the top, when you do come to put that in, it's only, I think it was 5 cc's of red rum, I think it said, but I've got Fox oil, which is the same sort of thing, which I put in the top. And now on the right leg is 100 cc's of oil. So again, just make sure you don't push it all up because you won't get enough room. You need to sort of tilt it upwards when you're doing it. Don't have it at an angle because it's quite a lot of oil going in that leg. Now coming to put some air into the legs. So you need a special tool as shown. You put that in. Now you just want to screw that in just enough to release the valve, because otherwise when you come to take it out and unscrew it, you'll release all the air, unless you've got another tool which does it better. But this one, I always struggle with getting the air in there well, so I just literally screw it in just enough, and then you can sort of knock it off and pull the valve off, and then it holds the pressure. And now I'm just going to clean up the top part, just give that a bit of a polish with a metal polish, which is just aerosol. And then I've got the small Dremel tool again with a little polishing head, and I can get around all the delicate areas. So you can see now the forks are starting to come together. They look really good. So it just goes to show that, you know, just using an aerosol, you can achieve a good finish. Now, ordinarily, I wouldn't do it. I would paint them maybe with an aerosol undercoat. Primer's fine, you know, maybe with an aerosol sort of black, and then finishing it with a 2-pack lacquer. The only issue you do get sometimes with some aerosol paints is the lacquer will react to it. So you've got to be a little bit mindful of that. You need to test it, but Yeah, you can see they come out really well. I'm really happy with them. I've just put the posts on for the V brakes. Obviously they can be used with disc brakes, but yeah, all done, all holding pressure. So yeah, another refurb done. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. It's really appreciated. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.